Scotland's last remaining oil refinery at Grangemouth is set to close by the summer with more than 400 redundancies. In an effort to support the workforce, our two governments commissioned Project Willow to assess the feasibility of turning the site into a low-carbon energy hub. Its report out today outlined 9 opportunities to attract £3.5 billion of private investment that could create up to 800 jobs by 2040.
What the Project Willow agenda is about identifying a range of opportunities that can be taken forward. We now need to have those discussions with investors to turn those into a practical reality. So I'm confident there's investment resources that can be attracted to Scotland because we've got an agenda of projects which are attractive and significant in the journey to net zero, and crucially the Scottish Government is going to be an investment partner in making that happen.
I think the key opportunity for Grangemouth is that it's not one project or another, it's that we can have a range of different opportunities over the coming years. So some of the projects, for example, around plastics recycling are far easier to implement in the short term. Others, such as biofuels, will take a bit longer. And then, of course, there's a really crucial role that Grangemouth could play in offshore wind as well, in helping to deliver the supply chains that will deliver the generation across the North Sea. So there are real opportunities that all come with jobs. But yes, there will need to be private sector investment. That's why the £200 million from the National Wealth Fund is so key, because that is to drive forward investable opportunities at Grangemouth.
So the ambitions set out by our governments are clear, but how easy will it be to unlock billions of pounds in private cash and create lots of green jobs? With us now, Mark Simmers, the Chief Executive Officer of the green chemicals company Celtic Renewables, and Dr Ewan Gibbs, who's an economic and energy historian. Thanks both very much indeed for joining us. So Mark, you were at Grangemouth today for the launch of the report. What have you made of what they're proposing?
I think it's a really exciting proposal, Rona. The just transition of Grangemouth into that low carbon manufacturing hub, I think will attract a whole range of businesses where Grangemouth itself is not reliant on one operator, but actually will be a whole range of different businesses and different technologies in there, which I think represents a really exciting future.
And you're already operating from the site. What is it you do and what is it you're hoping to do? And you're going to be part of Project Willow,
Yeah, we're part of Project Willow. We're mentioned in the report. We've been in Grangemouth for 6 years. We take the secondary byproducts of food and drink production and we make that into green chemicals. So acetone and butanol that's in medicines, that goes into cosmetics, personal care products. So we're making that through a biological low carbon pathway rather than it coming from fossil fuel. So a real demonstration of what this report is recommending to do.
And you want to grow the company on the site then?
We want to grow the company on the site, and the reason we chose Grangemouth is the access to utilities, the available land, and actually the available workforce who've got great skills that can transition into what we do.
Do you share Mark's optimism for what they might be able to achieve at Grangemouth?
I think that there has to be big concerns today from the point of view of the workforce, and it's important that we don't lose sight of the fact that we're talking about a workforce of approaching 3,000 people who depend on refining at Grangemouth. What we've seen today is an outline of possible projects that still require billions of pounds in funding, and that funding needs to be secured, and I think the role that public support is going to be played in that funding also needs to be clarified, and we need to think about what these companies are, who they are, who owns them. I mean, I think Mark's firm is a positive case in the sense that it's a Scottish headquartered firm that, from what I understand, from what Mark said to me earlier, Scottish Enterprise has a stake in it, so we all have a stake in it. That's not what the larger energy sector in Scotland looks like. What's happened at the refinery is a closure decision was made far away from Scotland, effectively, by Petro Ineos. By a company that's a vehicle on the one hand between the privately owned, privately listed Ineos and the state-owned enterprise, Chinese state-owned enterprise PetroChina. So I think we need to think about why this process is taking place and quite how late in the day really this planning process began.
What do you make of what Ewan's got to say there?
I share Ewan's opinion. We talked earlier on about, ultimately this report and this move to, the the repurposing of Grangemouth should have happened a long time ago, and therefore, you know, I have huge sympathy with, you know, the workers that are losing their jobs at Petro-Ineos. That's a terrible outcome, and I think this could have been addressed earlier. But, you know, laying out this plan, which frankly will take a long time to realise. This is not, you know, a panacea that will change everything around in a couple of years. You know, this has got to be looked at over probably a decade or more as we repurpose that site and really define what's next for it.
So this isn't really going to help those people at Grangemouth who are facing redundancy now. The local MSP for the area, Michelle Thompson, said this is just jam tomorrow, Ewan.
I think at the moment, at the end of the day, there's a workforce that's looking at its employment coming to an end in the summer, as was outlined in the report. That's not, as I said, not just the reported 400 refinery workers. There's other workers employed by Ineos and Petro-Ineos in ONG context who also have been told that they could be facing redundancy. There's contract workers on the refinery site that are facing redundancy. There's questions to be asked about promises that were made around Scottish Labour Conference there, where ministers said that you know, there was going to be 18 months of wage protection for those workers. From what I understand, Unite, the union at the refinery, has that agreement for refinery workers, and it doesn't extend to these other workers. So I think the UK government in the here and now could be explaining how it's going to create a bridge for those workers into the new activities like the expansion of Mark's firm.
Coming back to the money that needs to be raised, 3.5 billion, an enormous amount of money. I mean, how's that going to be found?
Well, there is a huge amount of money in the private investment markets that is really looking to invest in low carbon opportunities, similar to what we're seeking to develop. So I think there is a lot of investment money out there that would support the right opportunities developed in the right way. And I think one of the advantages that Grangemouth does have is the fact that you've got, you know, brownfield land, you've got access to utilities, you've got great transport links, and potentially, if some of the skills can be kept in the Grangemouth area, great access to people. So there's a lot going for that area. But, you know, it's going to take time to turn that around. Yeah, and do you think there's enough money out there? Well, there clearly is enough money out there, but do you think the money will come to Grangemouth? I mean, there's lots of money out there, and Grangemouth is a crucial site and with strong potential. Mark mentioned we've got the workforce, we've got potential outlets in biorefining and greener chemicals manufacturing and green hydrogen production. It's a site that's well placed in infrastructure terms, in terms of the pipelines and the brownfield connections, but also the heavy cable connections to the electricity sector. I do think we need to have a discussion around what role public money and support might play in this, and what rewards we expect us all to receive if that happens. Well, we'll have to wait and see whether the money can be found and what will happen at Grangemouth. We'll have to leave it there, but thank you both very much indeed for joining us. Thank you. Thank you.